Hello everybody, welcome back. Today, a couple of important technical updates that we're seeing. Of course, Bitcoin is still in this larger bottoming formation, but the fact is that we broke this 92,000 level now and probably on a sustainable basis indicate that Bitcoin can rally up to its next resistance level. So there's more room to the upside here, and a lot of the charts actually look great for the simple reason that Bitcoin is making a higher low. So the downside actually seems to be a little bit cut off here. So the next move is potentially higher because we're taking out some of the resistance levels here. And of course, the RSI is really bottoming from the 30% level. That's usually the level where we see the rebounds. But when we go through some of the slides, it's actually quite interesting for a lot of the other charts as well. Here, of course, the 92,000 has been the resistance so far. It held. Bitcoin sold off, as we all know, but the fact is that we're now trading above this level is really bringing the next level, the 101,000 into focus, if not even the 105,000. But focusing first that Bitcoin goes back to 100,000, and I think that's quite possible here. This, of course, these slides are part of our larger presentation in terms of the crypto trends chart book, which is part of our trading signals publication. So there's around 50 charts here. We're not going to go through all of them. We're just going to have the top ones here, but because I think they're telling a very similar story, but we have a lot of altcoins that we like here from a tactical risk reward perspective. Of course, Bitcoin has been in this bottoming formation. Bitcoin has revisited the 80,000 level. We saw, of course, the sell-off based on the Bank of Japan's interest rate hike probabilities. We saw, of course, MicroStrategy, FUD. We saw, China, warning about illegal token activities. Bank of America allowing their clients to buy Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and so suggesting actually a 4% weighting. And of course, Vanguard has also allowed their customers to buy Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But the interesting aspect here is that Bitcoin has made a low at 84,600, then the higher low at 86,300. Now we are just a little bit below 92,000, and I think we're going to go above it. And I think the next level then to focus on is really this 95,000, but we think we're going to go above it, and then we're going to go towards 100,000. One story is, of course, the upgrade that we're going to see today from the Fusaka upgrade for Ethereum. It's all about scalability, peer, DAS for 8 times greater data throughput, enabling cheaper layer 2 blob fees by probably 30 to 80%. So it's going to support heavier apps like on-chain games and DeFi. And I think people are going to look into, back into May when we had this massive 58% rally after the Pectra upgrade. So of course here we're seeing also that there is a higher low here, and the low of course was 2,766. The next level was 2,800, and of course if we buy here we will put stops at one of these levels depending on the risk tolerance. But I think the ingredients actually for a rally are right now right here. Similarly, Solana has really making really a double, double bottom here recently. It's not yet tackling the 30-day moving average, but I think it's going to try to climb above it, and I think the potential for a rebound here is quite high. We have this Solana ETF 2 times leverage being launched at the CBOE. Kalshi prediction markets is launching tokenized event contracts, on Solana. And of course, we have some news about the Solana treasuries, about, some staking yields there. I think so. Again, I think technically it looks quite interesting. We are bottoming out. There's a lot of news flow that is can be seen positively here. So it's really another of these charts that actually start to look really great now. XRP, the chart is not as clear, but here as well, it's a higher low. It's reversing, it's tackling a 30-day moving average. It's of course very volatile, but here it also has a 2 times leveraged ETF that's beginning to trade on the CBOE, or has beginning to trade already now, since yesterday. But again, it's another of these signs. We are bottoming out. We're trying really to put in a base, and then we kind of trying to tackle again sort of like the mid resistance level, probably at 2.5. BMP is one of our favorites. We have mentioned already, last week. We have more data around it. We published a report, of course, some of the stories here. It's of course, 695 million addresses, 2 million daily users. The quarterly burn, was just gotten out of the way with nearly 1.6 million BMP burn. So that's around 1 billion. That adds probably around 4 to 5% yield. I think we can argue since it's less tokens out there. And then Van Eck is going to launch a BNB ETF on the Nasdaq. Here, similar to Solana, we are making a double bottom. And I think once we go above the 30-day moving average, it's definitely more a bullish scenario again, because the 30-day moving average has so far really indicated when people should be long and when they should be closing out their positions, long above, short or neutral below. And I think that's here the case as well, especially with the double bottom that's currently being formed. XLM, I think XLM looks pretty good here. Again, very similar story of a higher low here. The US bank stablecoin pilot on Stellar Network with PwC has of course been in the news. Franklin Templeton expanded its crypto index ETF, which also included Stellar, Thor wallet integration, Turbo Energy renewable financial integration, which shows real world assets here and real world use cases. But it's again the technicals. We are breaking the 30-day moving average, and I think that's a very important sign because every time we break it and every time we sustain above this level, I think it's time to be long really. Ethena looks also quite interesting here, especially because it finally seems to be getting above its 30-day moving average. The Ethereum funding rate has improved, of course, because of the upgrade today. I think it's 20% annualized, so a lot of speculation is happening. We, of course, sold off very hard because of the ENA token unlock. There was also like 100 million ENA being dumped by whales, but the symbiotic restaking integration offering 30 times ENA rewards, certainly enhancing utility, but it's again more from the technical side that we are attempting to bottom out. And when you look at in June, we were at a similar level before we had a massive rebound. So technically, I think it looks really great here. And I think that's why I would certainly consider this really as one of the favorites. But of course, it's a very high beta story, with stop loss limits need to be set here. And then another one, which we have sent out a couple of days ago already, the Casper token. It's one of the favorites because it has broken already the 30-day moving average. Marathon Digital has bought $35 million worth of tokens in November. Open interest in derivatives has jumped, of course, on platforms like UDX and Websy. And miner distributions fell 22%, so that's certainly easing the selling pressure, but it's also bottoming out as one of the earlier tokens, and I think it seems to be quite an interesting proposition here. Again, we would put stop loss at one of the moving averages, probably the 30-day moving average, but it's certainly one of the things that can move quite a bit here. So again, this is all part of our crypto trends chart books. There's around 50 charts, with the reasoning why things are moving. And again, there's lots of altcoins right now. Of course, it's always a stop loss, and none of this is financial advice for sure. But nevertheless, the technicals look great, and a lot of stories right now that certainly provide more upside, and we might actually see some good potential here. All right, thanks for watching. If you like it, if you wanted to talk about specific coin, let us know. We're more than happy to provide more of those videos because the feedback has been so far quite good. But please leave a comment, and see you next time. Bye bye.